The moment that changes Evie or White and change, even one sentence exposes everything you thought you knew. Let me tell you something. Sometimes life doesn't change slowly. Sometimes it snaps. One sentence, one moment, and suddenly everything you believe feels shaky. That line doesn't arrive to entertain you. It arrives to wake you up. Not to justify bad behavior, but to expose what was already there. A sentence like that pulls the cover off hidden thoughts. It shows how fast people jump to judgment, how quickly respect can disappear. That moment isn't loud because it's dramatic. It's loud because it's honest. And once honesty shows up, you can't unsee it. This is the second when comfort ends and awareness begins. Fear talks fast, truth moves slow, fear doesn't wait. Fear rushes. Fear panics and demands answers right now. That's when mouths move faster than minds. People speak before they think because fear hates silence. Truth doesn't rush. Truth takes time. Truth needs space. But fear fills gaps with guesses. How many times have words been fired just to quiet inner panic? How many times has speed replaced care? When fear leads the tongue, damage follows. Not because people are evil, but because they are scared. And scared people don't listen. They react. They strike. They assume. And once spoken, those words don't disappear. You don't know the story. You only know your version hears the hard truth. You never see the full picture. You see your angle, your mood, your past, your wounds. That's it. Confidence without facts is dangerous. It feels strong, but it breaks things. Families, trust, bonds. People convince themselves they know enough. When they don't, they build stories on half details and call it truth. That's not strength. That's blindness. Real clarity comes from pausing, from admitting I might be wrong. But most people would rather feel right than be careful. And that choice leaves scars. Words don't reveal facts. They reveal character. Listen closely. Insults don't prove anything about the target. They expose the speaker. When respect leaves the mouth, it already left the heart. Words are mirrors. They show what lives inside. Calm words come from control. Cruel words come from inner mess. You can't hide that. You can dress it up. You can defend it. But language always leaks truth. Not about what happened. About who you are in pressure. That's why words matter. Not because they hurt feelings, but because they reveal inner shape. This isn't drama. This is the start of consequences. This is where it turns serious. This isn't noise. This isn't entertainment. This is cause meeting effect. Disrespect always sends a bill. And New Year's Eve stands there like a mirror. Not for revenge, for reckoning. Time doesn't argue. It shows results. What was said now has weight. What was assumed now faces proof. This is the line between who people pretend to be and who they really are. And once crossed, nothing stays the same. The danger of speaking without when emotion grabs the microphone. Logic leaves the room. Let me tell you something straight. When anger walks in, thinking walks out. Jealousy doesn't ask for permission. Insecurity doesn't wait its turn. They grab the mouth first and explain later. That's how damage begins. Not planned. Not careful. Just fast. A bad feeling rises and suddenly words spill out that were never meant to stay forever. People don't speak because they are sure. They speak because they are shaken. And once emotion takes control, reason is pushed aside. That's how trust cracks. Not in one big break, but in careless bursts that can't be taken back. Reaction is fast, response is powerful. Reaction is instant. It's sharp. It feels strong in the moment, but it's weak. Response takes effort. It takes pause. It takes control. That's the difference. Anyone can react. Few can respond. A reaction is driven by heat. A response is guided by thought. One creates regret. The other builds respect. When you slow down, you don't lose strength. You gain it. Real control isn't loud. It's steady. And the people who learn to respond instead of react stop burning bridges they still need to cross. Assumptions feel like truth until reality shows you here's the trap. Feelings feel real, so people treat them like facts. A look, a delay, a silence. Suddenly the mind fills gaps with stories. Then those stories feel true until reality arrives. That's when damage becomes clear. Words were thrown based on guesses. Trust was shaken based on fear. Assumptions don't warn you before they destroy things. They smile and say, I'm sure. And by the time truth speaks, something valuable is already broken. Words are bullets, not boomerangs. Words are not toys. Once fired, they don't return. They land somewhere, on someone, even if you didn't aim carefully, even if you didn't mean the damage. You don't see the wound right away, but it's there. People remember tone. They remember timing. They remember how you made them feel in their weakest moment. That's why careless speech costs more than silence, because silence fades. Words style once said, it's done, and it's remembered once said, it's done. Once said, it's remembered. Years can pass, but certain moments don't fade. A sentence spoken in anger can outlive apologies, time, and distance. People move on, but they don't forget. That's why restraint matters. Not because you're weak, but because you're wise enough to protect what can't be repaired later. Disrespect is a confession. Not an ACCID disrespect is never random. It's revealing disrespect doesn't slip out by chance. It comes from somewhere. It rises under pressure and shows what's been hiding. When respect disappears, it wasn't strong to begin with. Harsh words don't appear from nowhere. They grow quietly inside and surface when control weakens. That moment doesn't define the other person. It defines the speaker. Because language always shows what's living underneath the surface. Don't insult what you respect. People don't tear down what they value. They protect it. They choose words carefully around it. When insults fly, respect is already gone. That's the truth. You can dress it up. You can justify it. But language follows value. If something matters, it's handled with care. If it doesn't, it's treated carelessly. And that difference is always visible in how someone speaks. Weak egos reach for loud insults. Why do some people raise their voice when they feel small? Why do they attack when they feel threatened? Because noise feels like strength when inner balance is missing. Loud insults try to cover quiet fear, but they never work for long. They only reveal the gap inside. Real strength doesn't need to tear others down. It stands on its own. The empty cup makes the most noise. An empty cup rattles when shaken. A full one stays steady. That's how people are too. Those who are secure don't need volume. They don't need cruelty. They don't need to prove anything. Noise comes from lack. Calm comes from fullness. And the more someone shouts, the clearer it becomes what's missing inside. Responsibility has no escape clauses. Every word belongs to the one who speaks it. There are no shortcuts around that. No soft landings. No hiding places. Ownership is simple. You said it. You carry it. Growth begins the moment someone stops blaming and starts facing what they released into the world. Because only then does change begin, when control slips. True character WS pressure doesn't change people, it reveals them. Pressure doesn't create a new person. It removes the mask. When things are calm, anyone can look composed. But stress squeezes truth to the surface. When stakes rise and comfort fades, what's inside shows up fast. That's when manners drop, patience thins, and real habits appear. Pressure is not cruel. It's honest. It shows who can stay steady and who falls apart. It doesn't lie. It simply reveals what was already there, waiting for the moment when control slips. Watch what comes. Out when they feel cornered, pay attention when someone feels trapped. Some panic, some attack, some blame, and some stay grounded. That moment tells you everything, for it doesn't teach behavior. It exposes it. When escape feels impossible, people reach for what they know best. Calm people slow down. Unsteady people lash out. The difference isn't talent, it's inner balance. And once you see how someone acts under pressure, you understand who they truly are. Loud. Dominance is not the same as authority. Raising your voice doesn't make you strong. It makes you visible. There's a difference. Control earned through presence lasts longer than control forced through noise. Shouting may stop a moment, but it doesn't build trust. Quiet steadiness holds people without force. The strongest people don't need to push. They don't need to scare. Their calm does the work for them. And that kind of strength speaks without sound. Real power is quiet. Real power is controlled. Real power is quiet. Real power is controlled. It doesn't rush. It doesn't explode. It waits. It chooses. Restraint isn't weakness. It's proof of inner order. Anyone can lose control. Few can hold it when provoked. That's the line. Control under pressure is the mark of someone who leads themselves first. And those people don't need to shout to be felt. Fear-based leaders are always left behind. People may follow fear for a while, but not forever. When things get hard, fear doesn't inspire loyalty. It creates distance. The moment courage is needed, fear-based control collapses. People walk away. Respect fades. Only those who lead with steadiness remain standing when pressure rises. Fear might move bodies. It never moves hearts. The silent strength of self-respect. Self-respect doesn't argue, it decides. Self-respect doesn't beg. It doesn't explain endlessly. It decides. That decision may be quiet, but it's firm. Dignity isn't cold. It's clear. When someone knows their limits, they don't debate them. They act on them. That calm decision-making sends a message stronger than any argument. It says, this is where I stand. And nothing needs to be added. A locked door owes no explanation. A locked door doesn't explain why it's closed. It just stays closed. Boundaries work the same way. You don't owe long speeches to protect your peace. You don't need permission to step back. Limits don't require approval. They require resolve. When you stop explaining every choice, you stop leaking strength. Silence becomes enough. What would change if you stopped explaining yourself? Think about it. How much energy goes into explaining choices that are already made? Over-explaining invites doubt. It opens doors you already closed. When you stop justifying, confidence grows quietly. You move cleaner, lighter. People may question at first. That's fine. Clarity doesn't need agreement to stand firm. You don't need approval to have value. Your worth isn't handed out by others. It doesn't rise or fall with opinions. It exists whether it's noticed or not. Waiting for approval keeps people small. Trusting your own judgment builds strength. The moment you stop chasing acceptance, you gain freedom. And freedom changes how you move, speak, and choose. Stand still. Stand firm. Stand on. Stand. Still when pushed. Stand firm. When tested. Stand on. When the choice is made. That's maturity. Not loud, not dramatic. Just steady. And that steadiness becomes unshakable over time. New Year's Eve. The bill comes to you. Time doesn't. Forget it. Collects time. Keeps count. Every word. Every action. Nothing disappears. It adds up quietly. People think moments vanish. They don't. They stack. And one day, the total shows. Not as punishment, as result. Time doesn't argue, it presents facts. And facts speak clearly. This is where excuses expire. This is the line. No more delays. No more blame. What was done now stands alone. When results appear, explanations lose power. This is where truth steps forward without noise. And whatever was planted finally shows its shape. What was said meets what is revealed. Words promise many things. Results reveal what was real. Talk can sound convincing. Outcomes cannot lie. At this point, stories fall away. What remains is proof. And proof doesn't care how confident someone sounded earlier. Assumptions collapse under evidence. Assumptions feel solid until tested. Evidence breaks them fast. Stories built on fear don't survive reality. When facts arrive, they don't debate. They stand. And what once seemed certain suddenly looks weak. Karma isn't magic, it's cause and effect. This isn't mystery. It's simple cause and effect. Actions lead somewhere. Words leave marks. Choices shape paths. New Year's Eve doesn't judge. It reflects. And what it shows is always earned. When apologies are too late, not every mistake comes with a second chance. Here is a truth many people learn too late. Not every mistake comes with another try. Some doors close once and stay that way. Not because the other person is cruel, but because damage reached a limit. Life doesn't pause while someone figures things out. Moments pass. Trust wears thin. And sometimes the chance you thought would wait quietly walks away. This is not about fear. It's about awareness. Knowing that timing matters. Knowing that words and actions carry weight. Waiting too long often turns repair into regret. Regret doesn't rewind time. Regret feels heavy because it arrives after the loss. It shows up when the moment is gone. Wishing doesn't change what already happened. Feeling bad doesn't undo harm. That's the hard part. Pain teaches, but it doesn't reverse. Many people confuse feeling sorry with fixing the damage. They are not the same. One lives inside. The other requires action before it's too late. And once the clock moves forward, it doesn't turn back. Would forgiveness even be earned? This is where honesty matters. Saying sorry doesn't erase history. Words alone don't repair broken ground. The real question isn't whether forgiveness is asked for. It's whether it was earned before the damage was done. Growth that arrives after loss still matters, but it doesn't restore what was neglected. This isn't about shame. It's about facing reality. Growth delayed often costs more than people expect. Loss is the teacher people ignore too long. Loss teaches fast. But many avoid the lesson until it hurts. Warnings are quiet. Signs are subtle. And they are often ignored. Only when something is gone does clarity arrive. That's when people finally listen. But the price has already been paid. Loss doesn't speak gently. It speaks clearly. And those who learn earlier suffer less than those who wait for pain to force. Understanding too late is still a lesson. Too late still teaches, too. Late still shapes, too late still warns. Even when timing fails, wisdom remains. The lesson is costly, but it matters. Those who learn carry it forward. They move differently. They speak carefully. They protect what still remains. And that lesson, though painful, can still save something else down the road. The cost of underestimating SO and arrogance shrinks your vision. Looking down on others narrows what you see. When someone believes they already know everything, awareness fades. Details get missed. Signals are ignored. People focus on feeling superior instead of staying alert. That mindset blinds. Not because others are weak, but because pride blocks learning. The moment someone assumes they are above others, they stop paying attention. And that's when mistakes begin to stack dots. Silence is not weakness, quiet does not mean empty. Silence often hides strength. Some people speak less because they observe more. They don't rush to explain. They wait, and waiting gives them clarity. Mistaking quiet for lack of ability is a common error. Many powerful moves are made without noise, and those who confuse silence with weakness often realize the truth too late. You mistook silence for weakness and paid for it. This happens often. Someone stays calm. They don't argue. They don't react. Others assume they don't care or can't respond. That's a mistake. Silence is sometimes restraint, and restraint is choice. When action finally comes, it surprises those who misjudge the calm. Underestimation creates shock because it ignores depth. And depth always wins over noise. The moment you look down, you lose perspective. The instant someone looks down on another, vision narrows. Respect fades. Judgment slips. Errors grow. Seeing others as less leads to blind spots. Those blind spots create failure. Staying grounded keeps awareness wide. Looking down cuts it short. That's the cost, not moral failure. Practical loss. Humility is strategic awareness. Staying grounded keeps the mind open. It allows learning. It sharpens focus. Respect keeps vision clear. Those who stay aware don't rush to judge. They watch. They listen. And because of that, they move with care. That awareness protects them from surprises. And in the long run, it keeps them ahead without needing to prove anything. Becoming the person who never needs to sit to maturity sounds like silence. Not volume. Real growth doesn't make noise. It doesn't need to announce itself. Maturity is quiet, steady, and calm. It moves without needing attention. People who have it don't react to every trigger. They observe, weigh, and act with precision. Silence is their tool, not weakness. Volume may grab eyes, but quiet earns respect. If you want to become someone who stands strong, start by letting your presence speak louder than your voice. True growth is built in calm, not chaos. Loud reactions lose power. Calm decisions gain it. Reacting loudly feels strong. It feels satisfying, but it fades fast. Calm decisions carry weight long after the moment passes. Impulse burns bridges. Thoughtful action builds them. The choice to pause, consider, and act intentionally is the difference between chaos and control. Loud reactions may impress temporarily. Calm decisions impress forever. If you want influence that lasts, learn to measure your words, your tone, and your timing. Strength is steady, not noisy. Storms announce themselves. Mountains don't. Storms make noise. Mountains don't. Storms are seen coming. Mountains are felt when they move. People who shout often create storms, visible, loud, and temporary. People who are grounded are mountains. Their presence is undeniable, even if quiet. Influence isn't about performing or proving. It's about being so stable, so solid, that others naturally notice. That is the mark of true authority. Emotional discipline is the real upgrade. The real upgrade isn't learning new skills. It's mastering yourself. Emotional discipline lets you decide how to respond, rather than being controlled by moods or triggers. It keeps you steady when everything around you spins. Discipline doesn't suppress. It strengthens. It's choosing calm when chaos demands noise. It's holding your tongue when instinct screams. People respect that control because it cannot be faked. The stronger you become at regulating your emotions, the less you need to justify yourself or prove your worth when you know. Longer need to prove anything. The final sign of mastery is internal stability. When you no longer feel the need to prove yourself, you free yourself from noise. You don't compete for attention. You don't react to insults. You move through life focused, steady, and grounded. That is authority. That is influence. That is power. And once you reach it, you will notice that the world responds differently, not because you shouted, but because you stood firm. Final reckoning and forward Owen words matter more than you think. Every word carries weight. Every sentence leaves a mark. Words shape perception, trust, and relationships. They can lift or destroy, build or break. Speaking carelessly spreads consequences that last longer than moments. Thinking before speaking isn't optional, it's essential. Your language reflects your discipline, your awareness, and your respect for yourself and others. Speak with intent. Speak with clarity. Your words are never neutral. They always do something. Respect is the currency that never loses value. Respect compounds over time. You earn it slowly, but losing it happens in seconds. Treat people with steadiness, fairness, and consideration. Protect your dignity and respect the boundaries of others. Those who master this find doors open that arrogance cannot unlock. Respect is not given. It's noticed, remembered, and returned. It builds silently, steadily, and endlessly. Protect it, and it will protect you. Control is the line between power and chaos. Control separates leaders from loud voices. Without it, influence becomes noise. With it, your presence commands attention. Emotional control isn't about hiding feelings, it's about directing them. Chaos spreads fast, but calm spreads farther. The ability to act intentionally, even under pressure, shapes outcomes more than talent, luck, or opportunity. Control is quiet. Control is powerful. Control is the foundation of everything that lasts. Choose better. Speak better. Be better. Choose better when options tempt you to act on impulse. Speak better when words could cut or heal. Be better in thought, action, and presence than you were yesterday. Repeat this, practice it, live it. These are the simple commands that change lives. Small, consistent choices in behavior, speech, and mindset define what people remember about you. Do not underestimate them. This year doesn't change you, or choices due time doesn't transform people. Moments don't improve you. Your choices do. Every decision, every response, every word shapes who you become. Stop waiting for external change. Stop blaming circumstances. Step forward and own the life you want. The year itself won't make you stronger. Only the choices you make in it will. Take control. Decide today. Be better now. And become the person who stands steady, respected, and unshaken in every storm.